I welcome you to our Wi-Fi lunchtime service, your service for revisiting fellowships and inner life mastery. I encourage you to allow yourself to partake fully in every aspect of this service and experience growth with us. Relax and take a few deep breaths and allow gratitude and thankfulness to rise within you. Follow with me as I go through these declarations. I am not here. Sacred life is here, glorifying itself as me. This thing called life is conscious of itself through me and through all units of itself. This life, which is the body of the entire universe, is my mother and is also the life of me. And this life supports and promotes itself as me. This one life is the awesome, intelligent, animating force. This is the life of the element which I live. I am spirit, one with the spirit of all life, empowered by life to bring life's supreme purpose into fruition. This life that I live is the life that has come into me as its own self. There is a power beyond me that can handle all things that are beyond me. And it is working for my highest good. I cannot afford not to be here on earth. I am here for the power that brought itself here as me and constitutes my being and for itself. What the universe needs to fulfill is here as me and for me to accomplish it. What the universe does to itself is what is done to me. It supports itself for its own complete good, and so it does to me and through me. I am the life of life that knows itself, promotes and fulfills itself. I am grateful for all that comes up my way, as God shows me and guides me through this perfect life I live. Everything I do and is done to me has purpose and intention, and all good I do will come back to me tenfold. I live in this world for a purpose. I have reason for being here. So does everybody else in this world. I quickly want to go through Wi-Fi's visions, missions, and core values. Wi-Fi serves to reveal a divine identity, advocate Christ culture, and equip humanity for the relevant engagement in life and ministry in an atmosphere of unconditional love, trust, faith, and spiritual power. Our mission is to influence the mindset change with the revelation of humanity's oneness with the divine and equip individuals with the truth of who they are to the intent of having us firmly grounded to also empower others to be impactful in every sphere of life. Our core values are unconditional love, uplifting spirit, integrity, selflessness, trustworthiness, and tenacious devotion. Here at Wi-Fi, we believe that all of life begins and ends within the triune Godhead, and all of humanity is spiritually included in the love and life of the divine.
You will be better. Or you feel that by having less, you will be better.
We believe that this inclusive relationship is delivered timelessly, sustained and guaranteed by the nature of the Father who fills all things. We equally believe the urgency to make mankind aware of the good news of their redemption with an inferior expression of life in the most attractive and abundant life possible. I'll now pass on to Pastor Young.
Okay. Thank you very much, big man. I'm eternally grateful for life. I don't know if you allowed yourselves to plug in with the session that we opened today's service with. It's one that I do once a week. Very powerful one. in helping you establish coherence in your heart and mind. Or your brain and heart. In our last session, we started looking into the principle of freedom. I shared a few things, I shared a few insights, which I believe, hopefully we remember. If not, the notes are there, you can refer to them. I'd brought in a few things. What I'm hoping to do this week is hopefully to wrap it up if possible. And then we do our confirmatory practice if time permits. So that next week we can move on to something. Just a second. Is anyone in a space to... Oh, my camera keeps going. Is there any reason your camera is not on?
I didn't realize it wasn't on.
Right. So for those of us who are here in the last for the last session, does anyone want to be kind enough to refresh us on what was shared or what you remember from the principle of freedom? Anyone at all? Alina, you're welcome.
Was this the thing we talked about 2 weeks ago, where you asked me what do I think freedom?
Yeah, when we talked about freedom, yeah, that's a couple of weeks ago. What do you remember?
Remember you asking me what do I think freedom is?
And what did you say?
It's the ability to choose without being persuaded or judged for it.
I'll come again. You're saying something big there.
The ability to choose what you want without being persuaded or judged for it or by it.
Yeah. Very true. So you brought in judgment, I remember. Cool. You bring in what's called choosing or choices. And also ability. All very good words. Oh, what do you remember? There you go. There. What do you remember? When no one is talking, I'm not hearing you. I'm only hearing myself.
Sorry, I think 2 weeks ago we defined freedom as the right to act or speak
Your
freely.
video is showing funny. It's only showing part of your head.
I'm charging it, sorry. And it's a state of being imprisoned or enslaved. Oh, sorry, of not being imprisoned or enslaved. Hello?
Yeah. Okay. Remember I chipped in and talked about the fact that the need, the drive, the urge to control others hold you bound. The one you control dictates and determines your power. Freedom on the mother, what they call it, spectrum of it is control, manipulation, which we did establish that the only thing we should truly desire to control is ourselves, and not the other. Because we are created as omnipotent and omnipresent beings, vested with so much power. And you are so full of the God and the good that you are, that's impossible to contain another human. Got no space for it. That's why every time we attempt that, with our possessive tendencies, for instance, we feel burdened, feel frustration, and we feel deflated. And I equally did say that the feeling of control of another is only the imprisoning of your own self, or the imprisonment of your own self. That your dominance or your dominion is not in having control or dominion or dominating another human, but being in control of your own self, being able to dominate your own feelings, thoughts, emotions, and such that associates with it. I don't know many of us who are able to swim. I was in the pool there last time, and I was just thinking about something because I was doing an experiment, and it just spoke to me, or administers to me some truth. If you put anything like, let's say, a ball, if you put a ball, for instance, or any buoyant substance that has, or any buoyant substance with the ability to float in water, it will naturally float. That's freedom. If you want to keep it still, or if you want to keep it down, submerged, you will have to hold it down. To try to hold a ball at one place or submerged in water, you've got to physically hold and stay with it. You can't have the ball submerged without you yourself being submerged. It's not possible. That is freedom. Anything we try to control, anything we try to hold, it holds us rather than we holding it. Understanding this freed me. See? So each human, each and every one of us is a large, very large spiritual presence. And you can't contain the magnificence of another human. That's why it's imperative to free ourselves of our own possessive tendencies, because it imprisons us. The rulership you are, or the rulership you have, is the rulership over your own self. When you free yourself from the need to control another human, or to control events, or to control anything, that is when you become available to enjoy more of you in the being that you are. That's what we were talking about. Don't ever attempt because there's another, because it's just futile. Futile. Spirit beings, the being that you see is not the form that you can see through here, as I did say, but the man within. See? Our wealth lies in our ability to possess ourselves. But Jesus said, what does it profit a man when he gains the whole world and loses his soul? What would a man give in exchange for possessing himself? And I said, you know, often the times when we think that we have the edge over another by even imposing restrictions on them, it turns out that the restriction we put on others is the restriction we put on our own self. Nature proves it.
Can you repeat your thing cut off?
Come again?
Can you repeat your thing cut off a bit when you were saying that?
Oh no, what I said is the restriction you put on others is the restriction you put on yourself. Does that make sense? Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can.
Okay. And when we become preoccupied with trying to put things in the way of others, to control them, to restrain them, all that we end up doing is we don't become available to enjoy our own lives. It's a mirage to think that you can change another. It is easier to change yourself. It's easier to change yourself than wanting to change another human, wanting to change another person. Because most of the time when we want people to change, You want people to change so that they can satisfy our own choices. You want people to change so that they can satisfy our preferences. You want people to change so that they can satisfy our expectations. And all of those have got selfish motives behind them. That's the truth. That's why it's futile. And it becomes a never-ending mission. It is easier to change one person, and that person is you, than to change everyone else around you. But it so happens that ultimately when we change and we become positive changes, that spills over. Make the inside of the cup clean and the outside shall doubtless be clean. It spills over and it begins to affect and impact others, regardless how hard they resist it or how hard they try to resist it. It's only a matter of time. And that impact gets felt by others as well. Brother Ishmael shared with me an example of, like he's talking about frequencies and vibration. And he took my mind back to my physics days, my physics experiment, when he mentioned that a tuning fork will vibrate when a sound is in resonance with another one. So for instance, if you have a tuning fork vibrating at a frequency of 2, for instance, and it's surrounded by people or by items or by entities that are vibrating at 6s, 9s, 12s, 15s, 17s, for instance. The only ones who will catch that vibration will be the ones that are in the same harmony with it. So it will be the 4, the 6, the 8. The one that's on 7 wouldn't catch it and it wouldn't resonate because it's not the same harmony. See? So sometimes to harmonize with all, if that's the intent, you may need to tune yourself to a vibration or the vibration that you're on, or nothing gets in. So why am I bringing this in? It ultimately comes back to you and not the other. You understand? The work is on your inside. It's within you and not the other. Why is it difficult to change people? It is always challenging, or it's always difficult to change people because we are all compositions of our individual histories. So to want to change someone becomes an impossible task because it is a wanting to change and control everything in their history. See? We all learn as we progress through life and make changes that redefine and I would say redefine our histories, but it's a personal choice and it's a personal decision. It's not something that another can force on another or another can superimpose on another. I can't talk about freedom without reiterating. We've talked about this thing over the years, over sessions past. And as I did indicate earlier on, all these principles that we are learning and moving with, they interrelate with each other. For instance, you cannot really separate freedom from pain, the principle of pain. You can't separate. They run into each other. And once you permit yourself to experience life for what life is, you will come to a place of accepting that freedom is the truest thing that is worth tasting. I repeat, once you permit yourself to experience life for what life truly is, you will accept that freedom is the truest thing that is worth tasting. Why is that? I remember a few years back, that's like 2015, when I started the mantra, or when I adopted the mantra of owning less, living more, got me excited. And it put me in a space where I began to, it was just by thinking of one scripture, that a man's life consisted not of the abundance of things he possessed. Just meditating on that, and that truth hit me. Doing more and more with less and less until I'm eventually doing everything with nothing. Owning less, living more. But as I grow, I've equally come to a realization. Because at that point, I thought that my freedom was in not craving, not having, not desiring, not wanting. And I have now come to accept that the one who is craving and the one who is renouncing, it is the same thing. They are all, whether we are craving things or we are renunciating things, all in an attempt to have a certain feeling or a certain state. Okay? It's the same thing. So the one who wants, let's say the one who is happy that the what was it called? The trees are filled with green leaves, and they're excited. It could be that, okay, now the trees are not falling, the leaves aren't falling, so I don't need to deal with sweeping it up. The one who is also happy to have the leaves fall and have the brown leaves might be equally happy that now you don't have to deal with cutting the lawn or cutting the grass or cutting the leaves. So the one who is craving and the one who is renunciating, they're both. They're both in expectation or desiring a particular state. But when I got myself on the yogic path, I understood that the essence is not the desire or the wanting, or the not wanting or not desiring, but being in the place where one is truly and really through with things, to the point that their craving or renunciation doesn't affect their state in any way. The point where you're totally indifferent to the craving or the renunciation of anything in order for you to feel a particular way. Because both of these are energy patterns which show you are not really through with things. I'm not sure if I'm making sense of what I'm trying to say. That is a place where you accept that there is nothing to really change outside of you. What spins our desires, what spins our renunciations, they all stem from the state of being okay with something or not being okay with another thing. Having a preference for something or not preferring something else. Making a separation between our likes and dislikes. Making a separation between our wants and our not wants. But when we understand that you are the oneness with the All One, you are positioned to accept that there isn't any difference between our wants and no wants and our likes and no likes, so far as we accept that we ourselves are unchanging, so far as we are aligned with true consciousness. Are you with me? The freedom we're talking about here is being freedom from the mess that we create with mind, the mess that we create with being unconscious, the mess that we create with our choosing to have a problem with life, with how life presents per time. And our choosing to identify and relate with the ego's own inclinations. True freedom will be a mirage, will be elusive, will evade us as long as we are back down with ego's cry, ego's needs, and his inclinations. The one who desires to be truly free will doubtless be the one who has embraced the fact that consciousness is who they are, and letting go of our attachments to the labels and the settings and the, what you call it, and the conditions or preconditions, if I should say, that we impose or superimpose on happenings, on events, on processes. I want you to let this sink in for a bit. Challenge we have when we choose to bother ourselves with things that shouldn't bother us. Day will come, night will fall, with or without our concern, with or without our worry. So why bother with it? The sun will shine, the rain will fall. These are processes that have been before we have been, well, as they call, before we came on the scene. And these will continue after we've left. So why bother with it? I love the example of the weather, and it's one that I use all the time. Summer will come, winter will come, it will rain, it will shine. Why do you choose not to be okay when it's raining? Because you prefer that it's, what's it called, the sunshine. Madness. It's too much hassle. You can't be free when you are choosing to be concerned and bothered with things that shouldn't really be a bother. That is bondage. It's the part of you that has absolutely no right to bother itself with meaninglessness of life's processes, which we got absolutely no control over. part of us that refuses to be okay with life. And the way it's presenting per time. You see, a wise man will not remain a slave to the fear of their pain, but rather will permit their world and their environment to be what it is instead of being afraid of it. Will permit how life is evolving in and around and through them to be what it is instead of what their fears are holding. The wise and the free and the understanding heart wholeheartedly participate in life. Not with the intent of using life to avoid themselves and the things that they are not comfortable with. If life is presenting in a way that is causing a disturbance on the inside, we're still talking about freedom. Instead of pulling away, let it pass through you like the wind. Understanding that you are only the one experiencing it, but not it. I don't know the number of times I should reiterate this genuinely. Being able to separate yourself from the experiences and the energies, as opposed to identifying and making it you. You are not the pain. You are not the trauma. You are not the bondage. You are not the fear. You are only the one observing, and you are only the one experiencing or giving it experience. You only feel trapped when you personalize the experience or you personalize the energy. Free yourself. Whether we like it or not, life won't always happen in the way that we appreciate. Life won't always happen in the way that we desire. Life won't always happen in the way that we want it. Things will happen. Life will be life. Things happen every day. Things will happen every day, every moment that will cause disturbance inside of you. Things will happen every day that will cause frustration inside of you. That is life. At any moment when you can feel the frustration, you can feel the anxiety, you can feel the anger, you can feel the fear, you can feel the jealousy, you can feel the insecurity, you can even feel the embarrassment. If you watch, you will see that the heart is trying to push it all away. And that is where the problem is. But if you want to be truly free, you have to learn to stop fighting all of these commotional feelings and simply view them as energy. You viewing them as energy, then the question comes to, how do I channel this? How do I use this? What is the purpose of this rage? What is the purpose of this pain? What is the purpose of this anger? What is the purpose of this fear? What is the purpose of this jealousy? What is the purpose of this insecurity or embarrassment that I'm feeling? Where is it coming from? And what is the purpose of it? And just see it for the energy that it is. before the eye of your own consciousness. And then relax. And once you relax, you release and let it go. And what will happen is as you relax and you release, you will come face to face with the exact place that hurts. And you aren't going to be all over the place anymore. You aren't going to feel out of control anymore. That's how you take back the power. That's how you take back control. He who the Son sets free is free indeed. The Father's desire, his heartbeat, is to see his sons, his daughters totally free. So is the mother. Stay open and receptive. And be prepared to be present at the place of your discomfort. And go deeper to really understand the purpose. I want to call it energy of these energies, or if you want to call it emotions, understand what they are there for. And once you have that understanding, see it as energy and let it go. But what do we do? Often at times when we having these turbulence, we close and we hedge in around the pain. And what does that do? If something is trying to pass through you, okay? No, I want your involvement here. Jay, you may help. If something is trying to pass through me and I form a hedge around it, what's going to happen to it?
What do you mean by a hedge?
So like if something is trying to pass through me and I put boundaries and borders around it and I kind of hedge it in, what's going to happen to that thing?
You would immobilize it.
Exactly. So something is trying to flow through me, something is trying to flow out of me, and I hold it and try to offer any form of resistance to it. You use the word immobilize, isn't it?
Yes.
Okay. Can you elaborate on that?
Oh, you said like there are borders and stuff around it, so it can't leave, it can't move out of the place that you want it to.
Exactly. So if it's in you and you hedge in and you try to protect and you try to build borders around it, where is it going to stay?
At that point, inside you.
It's just going to stay in you. And then you wonder why you aren't being, what's it called? You wonder why you aren't being free. That's why I've said this over the years, and I say this all the time. Our natural tendency to resist is counterproductive. You don't supposedly want the pain. Why do you close up around it?
Elaborate,
Hmm?
Elaborate.
Okay. No, it's just expanding on exactly the what's called the analogy that we give it. That when you relax and you let go, the energy is trying to pass through you anyway. And if you're holding up and being tight and being resistive and offering resistance, you're going to have to keep up a fight, and you're going to be more tense. Now, when you relax and let go, it leaves you, and then you can have a sigh of relief, and you can really and truly be free. Nothing lives by our resistance. It's not true. If you release and you let the energy pass through, then the pain, the suffering will go away. Regardless how intense the pain might be inside out, you dare to face it, it will go away, and you will be free. It's like putting a dam across a stream. See? And all of these, they kind of hold us hostage. I can't really talk about this without, bringing our focus and our emphasis back to desires and wanting and all of that, because the longer I live, the more I embrace the fact that it's one of the worst trappings ever. So we strive, we want things, you want it today, and tomorrow we don't want it anymore. Something about it has changed, no longer suiting our preference. We want it, we get it, and now we are burdened with the fear of losing it. And what if it's no longer there? What if we don't have it tomorrow? It's a never-ending cycle. God wants you free. Embrace the freedom that you are. He who the Son sets free is free indeed. The price we pay for freedom is the knowledge of our true freedom and liberty. Does anyone have any questions? Anyone has a question? Just accept the fact that we are here to learn and serve. We are all mighty men and honorable and valuable men in our own rights. The benefit of this thing, or what is it called? One of the, I would say, two benefits. If you're wondering, you're asking yourself, why do I need to know this principle of freedom? At least one is that it makes you available to explore and enjoy the expanded you instead of trying to possess and control others. And two, it positions you to enjoy peace instead of aggression and resentment.
Can I ask a question?
Go
on. Does this apply to everything generally? I'm asking because I've got this pink tiny thing in my hand. Okay.
Your finger.
Yeah, in my finger, in my index finger, and it's very uncomfortable. It's like the sieve, the steel sieve, and I've left it. but it's not going away.
Okay, so how do you know it's not going away? It's not going away. You think it's not going away because you have put a time to it. You have put an expectation to it, to when you want it to go away, because you are uncomfortable with it. So in your mind, I want it to go away now. Preference.
Yes.
Exactly. Go on.
So I still need to get it out. I mean, however it is, I need to get the thing out.
So it's even getting messier. Now you've introduced another word. I'm coming. You need to get it
Yeah,
out. Why do you need to get it out?
because I'm uncomfortable.
Why are you uncomfortable?
Because it's painful. If my hand touches something, it goes deeper. It goes in deeper,
Okay,
and it is painful.
it's painful. Okay. Do you know how the body protects itself?
Somehow, yeah.
It does something very simple. So like a foreign object has been introduced into the skin. The first thing the body will do is, okay, there's something here that I can't really identify and I can't relate with, and it swells to protect. So it puts juice around it. It swells and it blows up. It swells to kind of, the body's trying to protect itself. Okay. I've said this a few times. The same thing as cancers. So the body doesn't allow itself. The body is not designed to self-destruct. Okay, it is designed to protect itself. Let me just chip this, but let me just chip this in. So, like for instance, cancers. So the body's realized that, okay, as a result of the things that you've eaten and that you've got some malignant cells, and in a bid to not get it to spread all over, the body tries to bring them all together as a cluster and hold them somewhere so that they don't interfere with everything else that is happening inside the body. It puts it in the same place. And then we realize that we get uncomfortable. We don't like it. It's not supposed to be like this. So why is it here? And we go biopsy, ping, and we prick it. And once we prick it, then it starts to spread around and now it gets out of control. But it's been proven that if we leave it alone, the body knows how to take care of it. You understand? But because our awareness now, where focus goes, energy flows, our awareness has now come to it. Everywhere else in your body is perfectly fine without pain, without hurt. The finger is just hurting a little bit. And because it's not always like that and you don't want it like that, your focus and all your attention goes there. And now you blow it out of proportion. You make the problem bigger than it really is. I can tell you, if you take your mind off it, you can work with it for days and you wouldn't even notice it. I'm not saying don't do anything about it, but I'm just trying to say the challenge is our choice to not be okay with what is presented. And excessively putting focus on it, then that magnifies it and it makes it bigger than what it really is. It's only a finger at the end of the day. I give this example and you know it all the time. Yeah, I'm telling you, it's only a finger. You cannot 4. You could have been born with 3. You could have been born with none.
Well, I wasn't, so I need to protect the one I have.
So it's sometimes though it's also the case of we are always getting in the way of ourselves. We're always getting in the way of life and stuff like that. And as you ask that question, Paul's question comes to mind. He says that 3 times I pray about this, that God should take this away. And in all of this, he only told me one thing: my grace is sufficient for you. My strength is made perfect. You see? Grace sufficient, strength is made perfect. And that bone, that infirmity that he prayed about how many times, it was still there. It never goes. It never went. According to the narration. And there's a lesson in this for all of us. We know this and we say this all the time. How many times, like in this part of the world, people are born with certain conditions that we consider generally deformities. And on the other side, we'll do everything because we don't want to pray all the prayer that we want to pray about it and bind all the demons that we want to bind about it, what's it called it, and because we don't want it being like that. I cite this gentleman's story all the time. His name, You know the guy I'm talking about, the limbless guy. Nick.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I tell a story every single time. I can't look at that man and feel sorry for him. I can't. You understand? But he's got no limbs. It's impossible for me to look at him and feel sorry for him. Why? He has found himself. Often our interventions and our desire to get in the way of how life is ends up creating problems. Now you're going to have to prick it. We have to use a knife on it. You've got to use a pin. You've got to use some pins on it. We need to try to get into it. And you have to create a saw to get that out. And then you have to deal with the saw healing as well.
Well, it's the doctor that recommended it this morning.
A very simple answer, in all fairness, in all honesty, is that this principle, so far as, okay, are you asking me today so I can answer based on how I understand it today? It's necessary for empowered living, and it applies in every instant. I've not yet found an instant in which this principle is not going to be applicable. I haven't. If you have found one, you can let me know. I'll be open to accept it.
Oh no, I do agree with the principle. I mean, of letting go, not holding on to it, and all of that. I was just, I mean, just looking at it, if it really applies to everything, and not do anything about certain things.
So that is the thing. I'm not sure. If know you, maybe someone else was saying this too. Every time we talk about letting go is not an invitation to be aloof.
No.
Exactly.
No, not being aloof. I mean, all we are talking about, I think, it boils down to emotions and our feelings inside, right? That's the main thing. This letting go and freedom thing, because someone could be in prison. They could have been framed by the West and on earth and been in prison, but they're in prison. He's a free person in his mind, mentally.
In prison, exactly, yeah.
Yeah, mentally. Someone could have everything in the world, be as free as can go anywhere in this world, wake up with all the money, everything, nothing to worry about, and still feel that there's something lacking.
I know people. I was telling you earlier on. I know people personally who have got no need of anything, and yet they can't sleep.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I get that. I mean, that bit, that just the emotions part of it is the main thing. To me, I believe that as human beings, how we're able to, control ourselves in that aspect is what gives us that freedom. Your inner world, your world inside, because that's you. You're the only one who knows what's going on in there. You get it? Someone, as you said, someone might be the most disadvantaged person on earth in someone else's terms. Maybe don't have TV, all the things we call whatever, or what we call luxury. But they could just be, maybe if don't even have electricity, whatever, but they are happy with just the moon, the moon coming out, with nature, all those things around. So yeah, I do agree, with what you're saying. I was just looking at it holistically, if it applies to everything that, even though you're free, I still need to, I'm not scared that nothing will it will do anything. No, but I still want to get that out of my finger.
I want, exactly. So
my want matters.
But do you know that eventually, okay, that if you decide to do absolutely nothing about it, for instance,
it will come off.
It will come off. Do you know that?
Yeah, I know.
Exactly. So it's a case of we wanting to interfere with the process. You see, like talking about, I'm sure you know this. Talking about, like, let's say even looking at sickness. I say this all the time. The body experiences the discomfort that it has per time as a result of a few factors, but sometimes primarily it's down to maybe abuse of certain function, abuse of or interfering with a certain process of a certain biological process, or we call it disease, putting the body in a place where it feels out of ease with how it's supposed to be. Okay, that's when diseases or illnesses happen, unless it's coming from there's a multiple factors, but primarily. But ultimately, let's say, for instance, I say this all the time, when someone has headaches and all that, we give them paracetamol. But you're not having a headache because you lack paracetamol, is it?
No.
Exactly. So it's the if we trust the process, nature knows how to take care of itself. Nature is always out seeking and yielding whatever needs to be for its own good, in its magnificence, in its abundance. But our challenge is, when we don't trust the process and we are not patient enough to wait for it to do what it knows how to do best. So then we get in the way of it. Do we teach a child how to suck breast?
No.
You don't. The child opens their eye and instinctively they will reach out for it. Meanwhile, they were not sucking breast while they were in their mother's womb.
They were sucking their thumb.
You know, so like that instinctively. You don't give any instructions to your intestines to begin to break down food when you eat. You don't. You see? You don't. You are not telling your nose to open at a particular angle. Try this. I'm sure you probably know this. We don't breathe through both nostrils at the same time. Do you know that?
Yeah.
Have you consciously tried to tell the right nose to open and the left one to close? We don't. It just happens. It just happens. Our discomfort and our edginess comes when we decide to interfere with the process, or when we get uncomfortable with the process. Preference comes in, lies comes in, dislikes comes in, wants on wants, needs on needs. You're doing the experiment.
Yeah, I was checking which nose I was breathing with right now.
You don't breathe through the two at the same time. If you breathe through the two, try breathing through the two at the same time, you choke. You see, you can't.
I don't think you can even you can consciously control that now.
Can't. So that's why we always say that it's rather the air that is breathing you. If you are not breathing, the air that is breathing is regulating you. You know, when you lie down in the middle of the night and you have to wake up to go use the toilet, you don't tell yourself to do that. You understand? You don't tell yourself to do that. Nature potty manages you. You know? So I think it applies in every instance. Keep thinking about it. If you find an instance, you can bring it to my attention and I'll begin to I'll re-examine it. But for now, it is what it is. Yeah, it is what it is. Anyway, allow your eyes to close. And I want you to make this statement several times. You can mention your name, Samuel Yao Pondri Esintim Kodia. Release myself from the need to control. or dominate another. And I want you to say that several times, maybe 3 to 5 times. Say it mentally. And this release now makes me available to enjoy me. And as you make this statement, that I release myself from the need to control and dominate another, and this release makes me available to enjoy me. I want you to listen to your life, listen to the sensations in your body, and notice any past events this statement might be addressing. Just notice what events comes to your mind that this statement of you releasing yourself from the need to control or dominate another. Identify events that it may be addressing. And as you identify those events, I'm sure by now you should be familiar with this process because you've done this practice for every other principle. Locate yourself at the beginning of that event. And be sure that you are in the midst of that event. And as you allow yourself to experience that event, what are you seeing? What are you hearing? What are you tasting? What are you smelling? What are you feeling? Permit yourself to experience the sensory perceptions that accompany this particular event, that you are releasing yourself of, to do with the control of another. And as you experience these perceptions, I want you to make this statement, continue to make this statement several times. I release myself from the need to control or dominate another. And as I so do, I make myself available to enjoy me. And begin to see the faces of the persons involved in this event, even as you look at this. See their faces. What are the expressions on their face as you positively make them know that you release yourself from the need to control them? How are they feeling? What is coming through them? Do you see the smile on their face? Do you see them cry? Do you hear the giggling? Are they smelling good at the sound of this? And as you go through that event, I want you to repeat the same for 1 or 2 more other events. And what you're doing this is you are allowing these to address certain cards in you. You know cards, but if you don't, then I'll take my time and explain that next week. And as you're addressing the cards, the pain, the trauma that accompany these events, you are allowing your abilities to be stimulated. Do one more event, do another one.
This year, my broadband is playing up. I think the routers.
Anton, stick to the script, please.
Sorry. Discover an epic story.
Now I want you to gently open your eyes. Observe 3 or 4 things in your environment. Open your eyes briefly. Observe 3 or 4 things in your environment. Close your eyes again, and then harmonize the things that you have observed with what you're seeing with your eyes. Bringing the outer to the inner. I want you to gently touch the back of your palm with your left finger. Do the same with the right, and feel the differences in sensations as you touch the book. Be grateful for your release. Be grateful for your freedom. And softly and gently open your eyes. And enjoy the liberty in which you have been made. Shalom and life to us. Next week, back here on principle 5, you're looking at blame, the destroyer of personal power. Blame, the destroyer of personal power. "18 principles we're looking at in total, and guarantee you by the time this year is over, you will be a different person. I know that for a fact. These have changed me, and I know it will change. I love you, and I hope you love me too.